Hello, everyone. My name is Drew Jackson, Winton Woods City Schools Community and Public Engagement Coordinator. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of our Warriors Supercast. Today, our very own Winton Woods High School senior, Joy Burton, has a discussion with Winton Woods graduate, Jaeydah Edwards. Jaeydah is a class of 2017 graduate and a Forbes 30 Under 30 award recipient. This is a huge accomplishment and highlights the excellence of our graduates. We hope you enjoy this discussion, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of our Warriors Supercast.
It's so nice to meet you. My name is Joy Burton. I'm a senior at Winton Woods High School, and I'm also in the AGS program. So I'm just super inspired by you and what you've done, and I'm hoping to be able to walk in your same footsteps and just make an impact like the one you've made on our school and our community and our world, honestly. How does it feel to be in the Forbes 30 Under 30?
It feels really good. It's amazing. When it happened, I was very surprised. I didn't expect it, but just even now yesterday, I met somebody who heard about it, and it was just really cool to be recognized.
So how would you describe your journey to your current title?
It's been pretty interesting. When I was in high school, I didn't expect to be where I am now, and it's been really cool just to see myself grow. And I would say my journey now, I started off not knowing what I wanted to do, and I ended up majoring in biology in college because I really liked science, and I decided to do environmental science as a minor. And in school, I just remember not knowing what was next and researching what jobs I could have, trying different research projects, looking into different careers, and I just never found anything that really stuck. And then the pandemic hit during my junior year of college, and I didn't know what was next. I had to pack up everything, move back home, and I just thought maybe I'd be in a standstill. But my professor emailed me about this opportunity with an organization called Groundwork Ohio River Valley, and I applied. I ended up getting accepted to be an intern, and from there, I kind of just worked my way up to where I am now.
Wow. So how would you say, since you are in a senior position, how would you say older people respond to your leadership?
That's an interesting question. I am one of the youngest people at my organization. We're a pretty young organization. A lot of us are in our 20s or 30s, and I'd say a lot of times I work with our youth, so I'm in a leadership role, they can look up to me, and then when I work with community members, they're always excited to have a youth or a younger voice in the work that we're doing. So I haven't had too many challenges with that, but it's definitely been fun and exciting to experience it.
Okay, so what do you think is the best piece of advice or wisdom that you've heard or learned so far?
I remember one time in college we had this careers class, and this woman came in from Great Parks of Hamilton County, and she was talking about her work as a conservation biologist, and I thought she was so cool, and I really wanted that job. So my professor connected me with her. We did some emailing back and forth, and she told me to always ask questions. And that's not something that I thought would be advice you give somebody. I was just oh, okay. And I think it stuck with me a lot because I always ask questions. I want to learn more, or if somebody gives me an explanation and I want to know more, I always say why and just try to get as much information as I can.
Yeah, so since we're on the topic of takeaways and things you've learned, what do you think was the most important thing you took away from the Academy of Global Studies at Winton Woods?
I'd say having a global perspective, because you're always going to be thinking globally no matter what you do. And AGS, one of my favorite things about it was that we did different trips and we got to go to different places and experience new things. So our government class, we went to Washington, D.C., and we did a trip to this global village my freshman year. And that's just so important to think about how things not only affect you and your community, but people all over the world.
So how do you think going to college built on all of those things?
AGS was project-based learning, so having that experience and being able to go into college and work with people who come from all different places, I felt like I could look at myself as a leader and be in a leadership role when we were forming groups or just knowing how to deal with certain situations. Because I think in AGS, if it's still the same, there was like the system of picking a facilitator and a scribe, and then if somebody's not doing their work, you could fire them from the group. And that really stuck with me in college. I'm like, okay, we have this plan, let's do this, let's stick with this. You can take this role, I'll take this role, and that really helped me a lot.
I'm hoping to take away those same things from AGS too while I'm currently in the program. And it is the same. We do still have the facilitators and the different roles, which is very useful. I know that you are an NAEE CEE Change Fellow, so can you talk a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, it is a fellowship program. NAAEE stands for North American Association for Environmental Education. And the fellowship program brings together people from all across the world. So we had people from like Germany, Canada, different countries in Africa, and we all created these environmental projects where we applied to the fellowship by proposing some type of environmental project that would benefit your community. And my project focused on air quality. So I put in that application and got accepted into the program, met with all these wonderful people that were doing different projects on different topics. We had a leadership workshop where we had all these famous people come in and be speakers, and that was really exciting, getting to meet different famous people in the environmental field and helping us with workshopping our projects. And then we ended up coming back home and actually doing the projects with a mini grant. So I got a little bit of money to be able to buy supplies and give resident stipends to participate in my air quality program. And that's pretty much it. From there, we checked in with each other. We get to go to conferences together sometimes. So it's been a pretty cool experience.
Okay, so would you say that's like really similar to your position and your responsibilities at your work?
Yeah, very similar. In my previous role at Groundwork, I was in charge of our air quality program. So that kind of became my passion. I've done a whole bunch of programming. I've worked with residents on climate change. I've worked with our youth program, and starting up our air quality program was probably one of my favorite things. And I think I found my passion there.
Okay. So I also read that you raised $600,000 to fund the air and water quality program. How did you do that?
I learned how to do grant writing. I never imagined myself being a grant writer, and when my boss would bring it up, I'd say, oh no, I'm not interested in that. And one day, my former boss ended up leaving, and I took over a bunch of his role with managing our grants, which was pretty interesting, learning like the back end of what goes into budgeting and what supplies you need to buy and how to run a program. And because I knew all the details of those things, I kind of started to just write more grants to try to get funding for projects that I designed or things that I thought we should do with our different programs. And it kind of just grew from there, and I've been writing grants ever since.
Wow. So you've been open to change and different opportunities that come at you.
Mm-hmm.
So I also wonder, what is something that you would like to tell the community about protecting our environment?
Listen to your environment, because a lot of times you'll notice changes. So even like when I was younger, I had to play outside all the time, and in the winter we'd always have snow, and in the summer it wouldn't be as hot. But now you can see changes from a couple of years ago and different weather patterns. So pay attention to your environment and form a connection with it, because a lot of times people aren't used to connecting with nature and being outside and just experiencing it. So I'd say take time to take a walk and maybe think about the air quality, because if you're outside and you live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of trees, your air is pretty good. And if you live in a neighborhood where there isn't trees and there's a bunch of factories, your air quality isn't as good, but that's probably not something you're thinking about. So once you form that connection with nature, you'll start to open your mind to all these other things, and you'll be able to share that with other people. And the new generation, that's the change makers, they can start to be like, this is a problem, how can we fix it and make it better for future generations.
Right. So what's your favorite way to connect with our environment?
I like to go outside and just take walks when it's sunny, and if I'm ever in a bad mood or just need time to myself, I'll go outside, just take a calm walk, and it just makes me happier.
So I asked you what your best piece of advice was that you received, but what is some advice that you would like to give?
I would say find your passion. You might not know what it is right away. And for me, I didn't know what my passion was. I knew I wanted to do something environmental, but there's so many things you can do environmental. And it took me years to figure out what it was that I wanted to focus on. So even if you don't know right away, something is out there for you. And think about what you like or any changes you might want to make and just find that thing that makes you happy.
So how do you stay open to trusting that process?
It's definitely been hectic, and sometimes I do feel like giving up myself, but I'll just think about all the good times. And working with residents and youth in my job now, I've inspired so many people. Some of the youth that I've worked with, they didn't have a connection to nature before, and then they formed one and wanted to go to school to do more environmental work, and that made me feel happy because I'm like, okay, wow, I really inspired somebody. But even if they don't want to go to school for environmental work, just having that connection is something that will stay with them forever.
So you have made such a huge impact and already achieved so much at such a young age. What's next for you?
I don't know. I would like to just keep inspiring people and just writing grants, even though it's something I didn't want to do at first. It's a pretty good way to get funding to do projects that can help with your passion. So keep writing grants and inspiring people and talking about climate change, air quality with residents, and expanding the work that we do.
Well, thank you so much for talking and for answering all of my questions. All of your experience and your answers have been so inspiring and enlightening, and I'm just so excited to continue to see your journey, and I'm excited to try to follow your path. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great talking to you.